Y'all, buckle up, because what I'm about to spill will have you questioning every childhood memory you thought was safe. The so-called America's dad Bill Cosby, the elegant Queen Phylicia Rashad, and the powerhouse Regina King are being whispered about in a way that will make your jaw hit the floor. Allegedly, and I mean allegedly before the lawsuits start flying, these three Hollywood heavyweights weren't just acting perfect on screen, they were allegedly scheming off-screen. And the one caught in the middle of this alleged betrayal? None other than Malcolm Jamal Warner. Yes, Theo Huxtable himself. The boy next door we all grew up rooting for may have been living in the shadow of a secret plot so sinister it feels straight out of Law and Order. Y'all, are we talking about career sabotage, a silencing operation? Or something darker, something that looks a lot like a murder conspiracy? Because the streets are buzzing, the receipts are leaking, and the whispers say Malcolm wasn't just abandoned by his TV family, he was allegedly targeted by them. This ain't just a Cosby Show reunion, this is a crime scene waiting to be solved. Now y'all, I don't even know how to start this without my voice shaking, because what I'm about to lay out sounds less like Hollywood drama and more like a crime thriller straight out of Netflix. But this ain't no script, this ain't no movie, this is the dark, rotten underbelly of Black Hollywood that they never wanted us to see for decades. Malcolm Jamal Warner, the same Malcolm who was America's golden boy, the clean-cut face of The Cosby Show, the one we thought had escaped. The scandals has been carrying a secret so heavy it was practically crushing his soul. And now, that secret's been cracked wide open because, baby, word on the curb is Malcolm didn't just fall out with Bill Cosby, Regina King, and Phylicia Rashad over creative differences or some little ego battle. Nah, according to leaked recordings and whispers from people who claimed they were right there in the room, those three Hollywood giants weren't just plotting to destroy Malcolm's career. They were plotting something far darker, the man's life. That's right, a straight-up Hollywood murder plot dressed up in the fine clothes of business as usual. Now, before y'all roll your eyes and say here we go with the conspiracies. Again, listen close, this ain't just gossip. This is insiders, assistants, ex-managers, even former security guards talking. And when that many people start saying the same thing, you gotta wonder, is this smoke or is this fire? Allegedly, it all started back in the mid-2000s when Malcolm was shopping around a tell-all book. Y'all know the type, messy, revealing, no stone unturned. And in that manuscript, Malcolm was reportedly ready to spill on everybody. I'm talking Cosby's backroom mentorship, Phylicia's loyalty to him even when the walls were caving in, and Regina King's secret ties to some of the ugliest cover-ups in TV history. Now y'all, what do powerful people do when someone's about to snatch the mask off their faces? They don't negotiate, they don't apologize. They eliminate the problem. According to one source who claims they worked closely with Phylicia Rashad, there was a dinner meeting, an invite-only sit-down at a Beverly Hills mansion. On the surface, it was just another classy Hollywood networking night, but behind closed doors? That's where the plotting began. Malcolm gotta go, Bill allegedly said, slamming his glass down on the table. If he talks, all of us burn. And here's where it gets chilling. Regina King, the queen of keep it cute in public, allegedly leaned in and said, then we make sure he don't talk. Let that sink in. Not, we sue him. Not, we buy him out. Straight up. Make sure he don't talk. And Phylicia, misbelieve Bill herself? According to that same source, she nodded and whispered, we'll handle it. Now, if that don't sound like something ripped from Power or Empire, I don't know what does. But these weren't fictional characters. These were three of the most respected names in Black Hollywood sitting around like they were some mob bosses deciding who lives and who dies. And what happened next? Well, Malcolm himself hinted at it in an old, half-forgotten radio interview from years back. Go dig it up. His voice was shaky, his words carefully chosen. He said, there was a time I didn't feel safe. I didn't know who I could trust. I kept looking over my shoulder. Baby, who makes Malcolm Jamal Warner, calm, collected, Mr. Smooth himself, admit to being scared for his life. That's not paranoia, that's pressure. Allegedly, the plot was simple, isolate Malcolm, destroy his reputation, and if that didn't work, well, let's just say they had other methods in mind. One insider swears up and down there was even talk of staging a tragic accident, you know, the kind Hollywood loves to serve us, a car crash, an overdose, a mysterious fall that nobody saw coming, and here's the kicker, Malcolm found out. He got wind of the whispers, the setups, the way certain producers suddenly stopped calling him back, how gigs dried up overnight, and how he was being painted as unstable in private industry circles. It was all by design, and when he confronted them, y'all, the tension could cut glass. Picture it, Malcolm in a dimly lit lounge, staring across the table at the very people who'd once been his mentors and colleagues. He asked straight up, "Why are y'all doing this to me?" And allegedly, Regina looked him dead in the eye and said, "Because you already know too much." Now here's where the tea turns into straight gasoline, y'all. Because the whispers inside Hollywood weren't just about career sabotage anymore. No, this was about a deadly setup. Allegedly, Bill Cosby, Regina King, and Phylicia Rashad are crafting something that sounded less like a TV reunion and more like a script for how to get away with murder. According to one insider, Cosby's phone records from the early 2000s line up with secret late-night calls between him, Regina, and Phylicia. These weren't "let's check in on our TV family" calls, oh no. They were coded conversations, allegedly filled with strange phrases like, "the set needs cleaning," and "the star is burning too bright." Now tell me that doesn't sound like mob talk. And here's the kicker, around that same time, Malcolm started noticing strange accidents happening on set. A light fixture mysteriously loosened, nearly crashing onto his head during a rehearsal. A car he swore he locked suddenly rolled out of gear downhill, almost hitting traffic. And let's not forget the infamous catering mix-up. Malcolm's meal was swapped out last minute, and he ended up violently sick while everyone else's food was fine. Coincidence, or someone trying to test the waters before making a final move? People close to Malcolm claim he started carrying around a little black notebook, writing down dates, times, and weird vibes whenever something sketchy happened. In that notebook, allegedly, he wrote the chilling line, "They want me gone. They want my silence. Y'all still breathing?" Meanwhile, Regina King was allegedly playing the role of the perfect double agent in public. She'd hype Malcolm up, calling him one of the most talented actors of his generation. But off camera, she was allegedly sending emails to Cosby about making sure Malcolm never speaks out. Emails, y'all. Paper trails, somebody clearly didn't watch enough Law and Order. And Phylicia? Don't get me started. While everyone thought she was the protective TV mom, insiders now claim she was the most dangerous of the three. Why? Because no one suspected her. She was the smiling face, the soft-spoken mother figure, but behind the curtain, sources allege she was making chess moves, booking events where Malcolm was suddenly disinvited, calling producers to suggest he was unstable, and even whispering to journalists that maybe Malcolm wasn't cut out for Hollywood anymore. Oh, the betrayal, but let's talk motive, because y'all know the story ain't complete without the why. According to the bombshell files, Malcolm had discovered some very sensitive information about Bill Cosby's early lawsuits. Stuff that never made it to the press, stuff that allegedly involved hush money, falsified records, and even cover-ups of crimes much darker than anyone ever knew. Malcolm, being young and naive, apparently threatened to go public. And that's when the plotting allegedly began. Cosby couldn't let Malcolm speak. Regina had her own reasons. Some claim Malcolm walked in on her having a heated, private meeting with Cosby and another executive, and if that got out, her reputation would be toast. Phylicia, sources say she felt Malcolm disrespected the legacy when he began distancing himself from the Cosby brand, and that was the ultimate betrayal in her eyes. By the mid-2000s, Malcolm's career had mysteriously flatlined. Casting directors who once called him the next Denzel suddenly ghosted him. Tabloids started running strange negative press stories about him being difficult to work with and unreliable on set. Except here's the problem, crew members who actually worked with him said the opposite. One even leaked an affidavit stating Malcolm was professional, prepared, and humble, but that networks were mysteriously blacklisting him after phone calls from powerful people. It doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to connect the dots, y'all. and just when it seemed like Malcolm had fought his way back, landing a role on a big drama series, tragedy struck again. He was reportedly this close to locking in a lead role when, out of nowhere, the deal collapsed. Why? Because a mysterious envelope landed on the producer's desk the night before signing. No one knows what was inside, but the next morning, Malcolm was told, "Sorry, we're going in a different direction. Come on now." An envelope, a manila envelope at that, if that ain't some old school Hollywood sabotage straight out of a noir film, I don't know what is, but here's where things get really disturbing. Around 2010, Malcolm allegedly confronted Phylicia Rashad directly. According to someone who claimed to be in the room, he told her point blank, "I know what y'all tried to do. I know about the calls, the accidents, the lies, and y'all, the response he got would make your blood run cold." Phylicia allegedly smiled, "Just smile," Dan said. "Some truths are too heavy for the world. You should learn to keep them to yourself." Chilly. What? That chilling moment was the turning point. Malcolm realized this wasn't paranoia, this was calculated. But by then, it was too late. He was already blacklisted, already isolated, and already carrying the burden of a story no one believed. And that's how the trap was set. Cosby, Regina, and Phylicia standing tall, while Malcolm was left out in the cold, his career hanging by a thread. And just when you think the nightmare can't get any darker, y'all hold on, because in the next part, we're gonna dive into the alleged final plan that almost ended Malcolm's life for good, the attempted perfect crime that insiders claim nearly silenced him forever. And now, y'all, this is where the fire turns into a full-on inferno, because if you thought Malcolm's killer confession was just another Hollywood scare tactic, let me tell you, the web of deceit ran way deeper than anybody was ready for. By the time this mess hit its breaking point, Malcolm wasn't just a man with secrets. He was a man surrounded by enemies smiling in his face while sharpening knives behind his back, according to the so-called confession. The pressure cooker blew wide open when Malcolm began to keep receipts. And I'm not talking about little screenshots, I'm talking tapes. Allegedly, Malcolm had hours of recorded phone calls, late-night conversations, even leaked voicemails where Regina King, Bill Cosby, and Phylicia Rashad supposedly plotted his downfall. They thought Malcolm was spiraling, losing grip, and instead of helping him, they allegedly started discussing how to silence him permanently. One leaked clip that insiders claim exists had Regina's voice saying something chilling: "If Malcolm keeps talking, he's gonna bury all of us. Somebody needs to shut him down before he shuts down the legacy." Do you hear the tone of that, y'all? This wasn't about love, this wasn't about family. This was about power, image, and protecting an empire built on the Cosby Show brand. The same show that once sold America a dream of unity was allegedly hiding a nightmare backstage. And then came the most disturbing layer, a supposed dinner meeting in New York. Months before Malcolm allegedly spilled his guts, a waiter later told the press that Cosby, Phylicia, and Regina were seen huddled in a corner, whispering aggressively, papers on the table, with Malcolm's name mentioned more than once. Witnesses claimed Regina slammed her hand down and hissed, "He'll ruin everything if we don't act." Now, look, you don't slam your hand on a table and say that unless there's a whole storm brewing, and apparently Malcolm knew. That's why he told friends he felt watched. He'd go live on Instagram late at night, talking in riddles like, "Y'all don't even know the monsters you're clapping for." People thought it was shade at Hollywood in general, but now, with this alleged confession, the puzzle pieces start snapping together in a terrifying way. The plot thickened when documents surfaced, flight records, hotel bookings, and bank statements suggesting money was moved around quietly, like someone financing a cover-up. Fans claimed Cosby's team was funneling hush money, while Regina allegedly tapped into her industry connections to keep stories buried. Phylicia, well, she allegedly played the matriarch role, calling Malcolm directly, trying to guilt him into silence with lines like, "Your family don't destroy the family." But let's be real, when guilt trips don't work, fear usually takes the wheel. And y'all, Malcolm said straight up in his so-called confession, "They don't just want me quiet. They want me gone." Those words alone sent shockwaves through social media. Folks were posting "Protect Malcolm at all costs," while others whispered that it was already too late. The wildest part, Malcolm's mother allegedly begged him to leave Hollywood for good. Sources close to the family said she told him, "You're poking at people who've played this game longer than you've been alive." And yet, Malcolm didn't stop. He went on podcasts, he dropped cryptic tweets. He even showed up at an award show, looking dead into the camera and saying, "The truth is louder than the laugh track." Now, ask yourself, who was he talking about? Was it Cosby, Regina, Phylicia, or all of them combined? Because if this confession is to be believed, Malcolm wasn't just spilling tea, he was signing his own death warrant. And this is where it gets truly sinister, the timeline of events. Right after Malcolm went public with those eerie messages, Regina King's circle allegedly went into full lockdown. Phylicia stopped answering questions about Malcolm altogether. Cosby's lawyers silent. Almost too silent, and y'all know in Hollywood, silence is rarely innocent. Its strategy, insiders whispered that Malcolm was preparing to release everything. The tapes, the calls, the receipts, in a tell-all book. But before he could even announce it, he went dark. No public appearances, no social media, just gone. People started asking, "Where's Malcolm?" And the only answer they got was that he was taking time for himself. But now, in the shadow of this alleged killer confession, that time for himself sounds more like a forced disappearance than a voluntary break, because here's the nail in the coffin: Malcolm allegedly closed his confession with one line that has haunted every fan since. He said, "If you hear I did it to myself, don't believe it." They already planned my ending? Y'all, let that sink in. That's not paranoia. That's a warning shot. So, now the question becomes, was Malcolm Warner's fate sealed not by his own demons, but by the very people who built their careers beside him? Did Cosby, Regina, and Phylicia really orchestrate a plot to protect themselves at the expense of Malcolm's life? Or is this just another Hollywood ghost story twisted by fear and gossip? One thing's for sure, when the cameras stopped rolling, the real drama began. And this time, no laugh track can cover the sound of betrayal. Listen, family, after everything we've broken down tonight, you already know the story is bigger than just a headline. We're talking about a secret web of betrayal, Hollywood, legacies being shattered, and a truth that's been buried under money, power, and silence for years. If Malcolm's so-called confession is real, then the Cosby dynasty, Regina King, and even Phylicia Rashad are no longer untouchable icons. They're part of a scandal that could rewrite history, and trust me, this is only the beginning. More recordings, more leaks, and more receipts are going to surface, and when they do, you know we're going to be right here breaking it all down for you first.